A lot of people woke up today in utter bewilderment at the news that Trump lost a lawsuit at the Supreme Court. Turns out that Twitter does have a right to ban him, and that free speech only applies to the government and not to private companies. So the bewilderment happens because no one understands why did Trump actually even sued. I mean, this was the expected outcome. No one thought it's going to come out any different. And to explain why this happened, you have to go back to, I believe, 2017, to a time when a lot of journalists realized a very lucrative business model. They would make an account on Twitter, and then they would go into Trump's timeline and tweet an edgy tweet like, oh, you're taking 2 scoops of ice cream. Oh, haha, only a fascist takes 2 scoops of ice cream. Ah, you're a fascist now. And then those journalists would get a lot of retweets and a lot of which translates into clout, and they would raise their own prestige. Because now they're a person that's able to generate buzz, it's able to generate traffic, so they can apply to prestigious publications such as Vox, Vice, The Guardian, which would consider hiring them because they get to show, look how much clout I can generate on social media, look how good I am. One edgy tweet and it went viral. So because of that, Trump started blocking these people. Now, getting blocked on Twitter doesn't mean that you can't see what the person is saying. It just means that you can't talk with that person. You can still make a separate account. I mean, there's just ways around it. And again, Twitter is a private platform. But the journalists actually sued. And to everyone's surprise, they won the lawsuit. And they went even further and they considered Twitter to be, I believe it was like the public space of discussion or something in those lines. I mean, it's not a private company now. It's like the public space of discussion or something like that. So they decided that public officials aren't allowed to block people on Twitter. So it's so ridiculous because like if it's your Twitter account, when you get into office, I guess it becomes the official account and then you can't block people. But if someone calls you, like let's say a televangelist calls Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and she blocks his number, that's fine. But if a televangelist would spam Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Twitter, then it would be unconstitutional for her to block him, right? Like, it makes no logical sense. I don't think they put much thought in this decision. It was entirely done because of political reasons, which is kind of funny because later on, AOC actually did start blocking people and she was told she's not allowed due to the precedent with Trump. But this is why he actually decided to sue and why he said that, well, me being blocked by Twitter is a violation against free speech. Because the same thing, when he was blocking other people on Twitter, that was a violation of free speech, the court decided. But it's not a violation of free speech when you get blocked by Twitter itself. Does it make any sense? I don't know, like maybe someone that understands American law much better than me can explain it. I'm surprised that individual citizens haven't sued Twitter based on this previous decision. Because if I get blocked, let's say I'm an American citizen, okay? Because it wouldn't work if you're European. But if I'm an American citizen and I get blocked by my president, that is a violation of my free speech. So a court decides that the president is not allowed to do that. He's not allowed to block me. But if Twitter bans me, isn't that the same thing? Because now I can't interact with my president. And I can't interact with my official representative. So isn't it a violation of the previous court decision which claims that elected officials can't block people from their timeline, but at the same time, like, you can bypass. So like, an elected official, if he were to have the pool with Elon Musk now, and he would say, look, I can't block this person because I would be violating the law, but Elon, you can ban him off Twitter, and then it's as if I blocked him. I mean, it has the same result, right? So this has no logical consistency whatsoever. And it was also applied to the US Army. The US Army was streaming on Twitch. I know this sounds ridiculous, but it actually makes sense. The US Army did have a couple of pro gamers, I guess, and they were playing Call of Duty on Twitch with the purpose of advertising the US Army to try and drive up recruitment rates. I don't know how effective it was, but it was basically like some army guys playing Call of Duty and encouraging people to join the US Army and the Marine Corps or whatever. But obviously Twitch being a more slightly to the left platform, you had people that went there to troll. And they went in the comment section talking about historical abuses and accusations of war crimes that the US committed in the past. So the US Army started banning these people and moderating his chat. To which they claim that by doing this, because they're a public official account, they're violating their free speech. So I think like they blocked the entire chat as a response, because it's like, well, now there is no chat, okay? So that's another question, right? Like, so if you're a public person, like a public official, and you go on social media, you can't block people, right? Because there's a chat. But what if there's no chat? Like, what if you create a social media account that no one can talk in and there is no chat? Are you allowed to even go there? Like for example, if a public official were to go to CNN and he writes an op-ed, and at that op-ed there is no forum, that there is no one that can respond, is that not a violation of free speech? But what if like the op-ed would have a forum and he decides to block selectively a couple of people? Like, is that, again, we're talking about the decision that a court has issued that claims that public officials can't block people from their timeline on Twitter. That's what we're talking about, okay? I don't set the rules, I just play the games, but this new meta is very confusing. So I did expect that Trump would lose this. Obviously, Twitter being a private platform, the only way to censor it is to regulate it. What the Democrats are trying to do now with the Misinformation Council under the DHS or whatever the fuck, right? So that is the way they can try to censor things. Or you can try to pass legislation. You can make social media into a private utility, like water. The water company can't unilaterally decide because it disagrees with your politics to shut down your water as long as you're still paying the bills. So the water company is still a private company, but it has certain obligations. So it could make social media to be something like that. They can still be a private company, they can still make profits, but they have certain obligations. So if you want free speech, that would be the way to do it. Or they can tinker with 230, which is what the Democrats are considering to do right now. There are other ways, but definitely no, like it's not a violation of free speech from a legal standpoint if Twitter blocks you. It is a violation of free speech from a moral standpoint. Like if the people who consider that it's okay to censor someone you disagree with, those people, given the chance, wouldn't create an America that is like the one we have today, which is mostly in part to the Constitution, to the forefathers that valued free speech and valued free expression and wanted the press to have freedom, right? At the time, you didn't have social media, you had the press, so they wanted the press to have freedom, to be able to post whatever the fuck they want. Well, now the press is on social media, so social media gets to decide whatever the fuck the press gets to print, which is not in the spirit of the Constitution. It's legal, but it's not in the spirit. So the people who think that, who value safety so much, if they were to create another country, it would definitely be something more like China, like the Soviet Union, like Nazi Germany, very different from America, which valued freedom. I mean, modern people value democracy. Democracy is important, but it's not important as liberty, which is the core essence of what the founding fathers thought when they made America. They didn't went like, okay, we need to make democracy. I mean, well, an offer on the table, if I'm not mistaken, it was King George Washington. That was an offer that was being passed around, wasn't it? Again, I'm a Romanian. It's my knowledge of American history. But like, to point out that, no, like, not everyone wanted the democracy. No, they wanted freedom and liberty. Let me know what you guys think, though, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.